This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on the State. And on this day, September 26, 1993, Cleveland Stadium ceased to be the Cleveland Indians' home for baseball. I know that a couple years later, football would leave Cleveland Stadium as the Browns were moved to Baltimore, and then they demolished Cleveland Stadium to become Cleveland Browns Park and all that. The story about Cleveland Stadium was huge and all that. Cleveland Stadium was also known as Municipal Stadium or even Cleveland Municipal Stadium. It was one of the first multi-purpose stadiums in North America, which was built to accommodate both baseball and football. The stadium opened up in 1931 and was known for being the longtime home of Cleveland from 1932 to 1993. Cleveland even split games between the stadium and League Park for 14 years. And the Browns also were there from 1946 to 1995. It would host many NFL things, like 6 NFL championship games, and was part of 2 World Series, 1948 and 1954. 48 when Cleveland won the championship against the Boston Braves, and that was the last time Cleveland's won a championship, or the 1954 World Series when Cleveland were heavily favored, but they fell to the Giants. Through most of its tenure, it actually was the largest. It was practically 78,000 seats. It was the largest in capacity in Major League Baseball. LA Memorial Coliseum, when the Dodgers played there for 4 years, did the same thing. Well, had more seats. And Mile High Stadium for a few years for the Rockies. Football had 80,000 and all that. Anyway, the stadium had some very interesting stuff and all that. Even when Cleveland Stadium was demolished, much of the debris from the demolition was placed in Lake Erie to create an artificial reef. I don't know why. Well, that's how it was. And that's how it will be. Like, anyway, why Cleveland Stadium even came apart was because the Cleveland Indians president, future Indians president, President Ernest Bernard, the future Indians president Alpha Bradley, and the Vince Vernon brothers wanted a stadium to benefit area commerce in general in downtown Cleveland. And some people said that it was actually built as a way to get Cleveland the 1932 Summer Olympics, but that went to Los Angeles. All that. So, anyway, construction happened and all that. It was finally done July 1st, 1931, and hosted a boxing match between Max Schmeling and Young Strobing. So it was huge in that. So the Cleveland Indians would play there. Their first game was July 31st, 1932, losing to the Philadelphia A's 1-0, getting 80,000 fans in attendance. Anyway, for a few years they played there, but the players and fans complained about the huge outfield that reduced the number of home runs, and attendance would have to plummet because of the Great Depression. So the Indians went back to League Park, but they hosted in a 1935 All-Star game, the third ever, and came back to the stadium in 1936. Cleveland would play Sunday and holiday games at Cleveland Stadium instead of League Park. When League Park lacked field lighting, then Cleveland Stadium put lights at that stadium. So after 1946, they abandoned League Park and stayed at Cleveland Stadium. anyway, there were a lot of things wrong with it. Many of the seats in the upper deck were too far from the field to be of any use during the regular season. So that would be critical and all that. The original baseball playing field was so large that an inner fence was constructed in 1947 to cut down the size of the field. Straightaway center field was 470 feet and 463 feet to either corner of the bleachers. No players ever hit the center field bleachers. All that. It was just unbelievable what could happen and all that. Of course, the facility was known for the biting cold winds that would blow into the stadium in winter as well as much the spring and fall, and attract swarms of midges and mayflies. Although it must be said, Cleveland did set Major League attendance records during the 1948 season, winning the AL pennant and World Series. Again, Bob Valley and Lou Boudreau. Cleveland put up 2.6 million fans, which was actually not eclipsed till the Dodgers in 1962 when they went to Dodger Stadium. Even when they had Elliott Memorial Coliseum, they couldn't hit that number. They had the largest regular season nighttime attendance at one time, 72,434 for Satchel Page's first major league start, and the biggest World Series game attendance of 86,288 for Game 5 in 1948. However, when Cleveland was not doing so well between the 60s and the 90s, they rarely attracted 30,000 people. So, anyway, it is what it was. Although Cleveland Stadium did host 3 additional All-Star games in 1954, 1963, and 1981. That 1981 game was famous because it was the first Major League game after the players' strike. Well, after the owner's strike. Midway through the 1981 season, which almost wiped out the season completely. As cats are meowing. Anyhow, yeah, I did that. And then 1981, Len Barker threw a perfect game at the stadium. The only perfect game. I think there were some no-hitters at Cleveland Stadium, but that was the only perfect game around. And 72,390 fans packed Cleveland Stadium October 3rd, 1993, losing to the Chicago White Sox. But anyway, it was just amazing all that. Bob Hope would lead the post-game ceremonies as he was once an Indians fan and part owner. And he sang the song Thanks for the Memory. Such lyrics. So because of how spacious the stadium was and modern amenities were not there, practically there would be a massive demise. And they built a new stadium, Jacobs Field, on the waterfront for Cleveland, for the Indians to move into that park in 1994. They moved in and had, what was it, more than 800 sellouts and all that. So that was just amazing what happened. So there was a lot of things going on. Cleveland Stadium almost became home for the movie Major League. A lot of people think Major League was held in Cleveland. Yeah, it had something about the Cleveland Indians, but no, they didn't film in that park. The interior of Milwaukee County Stadium served as a filming site. So anyway, there was a lot of maintenance problems and all that. So anyway, chunks of concrete were falling off and the pilings were starting to petrify. Modell, believing that his revenues were not endangered, actually did not participate in the Gateway project that built a new ballpark for Cleveland and a new arena for the Cavs. Unfortunately, that failed miserably, and he was losing money left, right, and center, and that's why he got rid of the Browns to Baltimore. So anyhow, Cleveland Stadium was a pretty spacious ballpark. It was decent, and heck, even MVP Baseball had that as one of their stadiums, I do believe. So yeah, that's pretty amazing. But anyway, Cleveland Stadium was just too big, too grand, too much of a hassle. Anyway, I'm Jeff. I'm gonna do.